Elder Scrolls Online, otherwise known as ESO, is a fantasy MMORPG located in the Elder Scrolls universe. Now, what the game offers, the two main portions I could say, are just PvE, which is player versus their environment. That could be a variety of things, whether it just be dungeon, questing, exploring, playing with your friends. And then you have PvP, which can still be done with your friends and with other people, but you're versing other players. That's where I find a bulk of my time being spent. But in this video, I'm going to cover both experiences, the good, the bad, the ugly, what ESO is, and then just like my final review of it. So stay tuned. So a little backstory to ESO. Came out in 2014. It didn't really have a great launch. You could ask people. You can even ask Cinemax themselves. They would say that it could have launched a little better. But what you'd also see is a lot of people would agree that the game has made a tremendous turnaround and it's improved for the better. And the reason I'm even making this review all the way in 2020 is obviously because I still play it. I started playing in 2015. I took in breaks and whatnot. I think probably like everyone has, but the game is so great that I could still be able to play it 5 years later. More specifically, ESO is, and if you don't know what an MMORPG is, it's basically a massive multiplayer online role-playing game. So it's kind of similar to a game like World of Warcraft, Final Fantasy, Black Desert Online, where you create a character and you embark on a journey. And that journey, you can really choose how you want to, how you want to run it. You can be a magic wielder. You could be an assassin, a warrior. You can take up all these different professions, such as woodworking, blacksmithing, alchemy. You could roleplay as a vampire, a werewolf, like I said, a thief or an assassin. So there's a lot for basically anybody. Anything that they really want to do, you could probably do it in Elder Scrolls. There's player housing. You could set up all your furniture, make your house as you are. You could set up crafting tables. Basically make it to where your house could be a place that you create your character and really bring it to life. There are, for PvE side, there are dungeons, which are just usually 4 players. Kind of similar to other games. You have delves, which are one of my most favorite portions of PvE, where you can go in it solo with a group of people. It's still technically open world. It's not instanced, and you just kind of move through, and it's almost like a dungeon. They're always really good looking. I'd say that's a part of what ESO does really well. And besides that, you also have player or PvP. And for PvP, you have 3 main versions. So you can either do Battlegrounds, which is a 4v4v4 arena style of fighting. You have Cyrodiil, which is the main battleground of all of ESO and Tamriel, where the 3 alliances are fighting over the keeps in the surrounding area. And if you're lucky enough and you have enough alliance points and you've played enough, you could be crowned emperor if your alliance captures all the keeps. Inside, or in the center of Cyrodiil, is the Imperial City. Imperial City is, as you say, or as you can imagine, it's a city ran by Imperials. It's since then been damaged, taken over by Molag Bal in the Daedra, and people could still fight there, and the alliances still fight over it. So the next portion is going to be the good that ESO does. One of the good portions is definitely the combat system. So, compared to other combat systems, you have a tab target, or you have to basically click on an enemy that it is that you want to attack. ESO, it's not that way. It's action combat, meaning you can attack whoever it is. You can leave combat, enter combat as you wish. You could attack a group of people, attack one guy. You don't have to target them. As long as your ability is landing or aimed at them effectively, you'll do damage. There is roll dodging, which is a way to prevent damage. Basically, you just dodge it. There's blocking, which is going to reduce your damage depending on multipliers and effects. Usually, it's just like a 50% flat reduction in the damage you've taken. You have certain other mechanics, such as bashing, which is basically if a player is channeling an ability that takes a little bit of time, you can bash them. And basically, you'll hit them with your weapon, and it'll interrupt them. And when a player's interrupted, they're stumbling, and they're vulnerable. At that point, you do more damage, you can stun them. Another good thing that ESO does is how the world feels. If you've ever played Black Desert, I wouldn't say it's nearly as immersive as Black Desert, but it's far more immersive than a game like WoW. So it falls somewhere in between. You always feel like the game's alive, and it's good. It's a good-looking game, especially if you run at the higher settings. And if you run at the lower settings, usually the performance is pretty good. You always feel like there's something to do. You always feel like you have somewhere to go, and it doesn't feel unnatural. A lot of the questing is basically all of the quests are voice acted, so it's not monotonous tasks. For some people, they can get really into the questing. I've even gotten into some of the questing as a PvPer. So you have that. There's just a lot of zones, a lot of potential places, biomes, places you can see, whether it be snow, jungle, lava-covered places. So there's definitely a lot of places. If you like certain places, you can stay in them, and that could work. In terms of PV, depending on where you go, it's all level scaled. That wasn't like that when the game was launched. So regardless of where you're at, the monsters are scaled to your level. So you won't find this thing where if you're trying to play with your friend, he's a low level, he can't even play with you because he's such a low level. That's not a problem in ESO as of recently with updates. Another really important portion of ESO is the customization, and that's really broad. So first major thing that comes to mind is character customization. When you're starting the game, you have 10 possible races to choose from, and they align with your alliance. If you get a certain DLC content, you're allowed to pick any race with any alliance. You also have the Imperial, which is, I believe, you could play the Imperial with any alliance regardless. From there, after picking your race, you can pick one of 6 classes, all with varying different abilities. But the nice thing is, compared to other MMOs, is you're not forced into that role. So a prime example would be a sorcerer. Sorcerer, kind of like a mage. In most games, it's what you would assume it would be. It could be played in a variety of ways. You can use it as a healer, a tank, a magic wielder with staves, or just magic abilities. And you can even use it as a melee weapon user. So in this game, it would be stamina. And so you could deal damage with melee weapons. You could be fast and be a tank. It's a variety of different things you do with a single class. There's another class, like a Nightblade, which is it's called a Nightblade. It's similar to a rogue or an assassin or a ninja. And you would think, okay, I can only play it stealthily, but that's not true. You could play a very effective tank as a Nightblade. All this to be said that, if you start playing today and you pick a class and a race, 99% of the time you can do anything that you want with that character. You can fulfill any role. And the good thing about that is you can literally be on one character for years and you'd never really get bored of this playing style because there really is no set playing style. The game gives you the freedom to choose how you want to play basically every day. Moving on to the bad. A couple of the not so good things that stick out to me. One of them being mount upgrading. So in this game, unfortunately, fortunately you can make your mount faster, so you can run faster, and that's nice. But the problem is for every character, you have to upgrade the mount individually. And so it creates this thing where you can upgrade your mount 60 times. If you have 5 characters, it's 300 upgrades you need to do, and there's a time limit on how often you can upgrade it. So unless you're really diligent and going on and upgrading every character every day for 60 days, your characters will all be in different places with mount speed. So that's one major portion. Another not so great portion, if you're just looking for PvP, obviously this is an MMO, so you have to level. The good thing about that is that this is one of the most lenient games. So in comparison to like classic World of Warcraft or Black Desert Online, where arguably in Black Desert Online you're never done. You can never really sit down in PvP, or classic World of Warcraft where it takes forever. Nowadays in 2020, with XP scrolls, XP boosts, stuff like that, you can get from 1 to 50, which is the max rank, and get ready to PvP if that's all you want to do, pretty quickly. Besides that, if you just wanted to PvE and relax and chill through the game, you could do that too. So there's really no rush, and it's a little bit more incorporating, but something worth mentioning that, of course, you have to level because it's an MMORPG. Another thing that could be seen as a negative or a bad thing would be the cash shop or the crown store. And the reason why I put it as bad and not an ugly thing is because it's not pay to win like some games, like Black Desert's a prime example. Black Desert is one of the games that you could say would be one of the best games, but because of the cash shop alone, it ruins the game entirely. It's not so true of Elder Scrolls Online because of the fact that there's no pay to win, but a lot of the cool items you may see will be behind a price wall, and some players may not see that as a bad thing at all because it's just cosmetic, and so that's fine. A tangent onto that, the cash shop is really, or the crown store is really cool. They have really great items. If you subscribe to the game with an ESO Plus membership, you get access to certain crowns, certain deals, and so it's a good way for them to generate revenue without charging too much to the game. So instead of having a subscription, for instance, and since it's all option and all cosmetic, it's a good way for them to make money and not ruin the experience of the game, similar to Black Desert Online. Now, the ugly, two major things really stick out to me. One being the performance in PvP mostly, and when I say PvP, I really just mean Cyrodiil. As someone that plays mostly PvP, player versus player, I obviously love versing other players. It's kind of like the thing that drove me into the game, but as of late, the performance is really bad. If you're on at the wrong time in the most populated campaign, the game is unplayable right now. So what a lot of players do is they'll just avoid it at certain prime times, get on other campaigns or servers, play Battlegrounds, or go to the Imperial City. Personally, I play a lot of Battlegrounds. The Imperial City is fun also, but Battlegrounds is nice and controlled. The performance is never bad. It's always a 4v4v4, so it's you're not getting run down by 20 people. It's very consistent. When Cyrodiil is working as intended, it's the most fun in my opinion, and I'd say that most people would say the same thing. But yeah, as of right now, the performance is really bad. The good thing is they are working on it. They've said that basically this is the year they're going to try to really tackle the performance because it wasn't always this bad. So they've acknowledged that the performance isn't as they intended, and they're working on it. That's the good thing. The thing we can look forward to. The other final thing, and this may be as an ugly to me because I mostly just PvP, and I don't really have much to compare to because I didn't do endgame in other games. But for ESO endgame, you can almost say questing or certain dungeons can be considered endgame PvE, but the main endgame PvE is trials. Normal trials. So in the game, there's two types of subsets of each challenge. There's normal and veteran. Normal just implying kind of as it seems. It's just a little easier. Basically, anybody can do it. Veteran, as implied, is a little bit more dangerous, harder, more challenging. And that's fine, but the point being that a lot of the cool rewards are you can only play vet. So you can only do the veteran version of the content to get the rewards. And as somebody that really wants the rewards, I kind of sound like a choosing beggar, but I'd wish I could get the rewards if I could invest a little bit more time into the end game of PvE. So it's an ugly if you're a PvPer because you may not ever get those things, kind of like me. It's not necessarily a bad thing at all because of the fact that the PvEers should be rewarded for doing the hard content, completing it. Finally, guys, is an overview or review. I'm just going to talk about basically just a quick summary if you skip to this point. Basically, ESO is a game that came out in 2014 with a little bit of a rocky start. It's really made a great comeback. It offers a lot for people to do. So on the PvE end, player versus environment, you can just play with your friends and go through delves, which are non-instance, similar to dungeons. You have dungeons as well, which are usually 4 players, where you take on some mobs and then a boss, and you get rewarded at the end with certain special gear sets. And then you have stuff further, such as trials, which are usually 12-man, which are way harder content, similar to other games. And then you have more simplistic stuff, like just if you want to go around and steal stuff and be a rogue, you can do that. You can kill citizens and you'll get a bounty on your head and people will be after you. If you want to just own a home and decorate your house, you could do that. If you want to roleplay as a vampire or werewolf, you could do that as well. To review some of the PvP concepts, you have 3 major ways of PvPing. So you have Battlegrounds, which is a instance 4v4v4 arena-styled fighting. You have Cyrodiil, which is the main, similar to open world PvP, where it's 3 alliances all at war constantly, 24 hours a day. And you're fighting over territory to eventually crown an emperor. Lastly, in the center of Cyrodiil, you have the Imperial City, which is similar, all 3 alliances fighting over territory. You get different rewards there, fight different enemies. It's a little bit of a PvP, PvE zone, so that makes it a little bit more interesting. Lastly, basically what I recommend playing ESO, if you have an itch for an mmorpg and you're looking for something to play in 2020, there's no other game I could recommend. Reason being, I've tried a lot of them, I think. I've tried WoW, both retail and classic. Like the advantages that retail has is it looks nicer in certain aspects, or it just runs a little better. Maybe a little bit more modern. But WoW is a game where they seem to be trying to do as much as they can with outdated technology. Classic WoW, if you just want a PvP, for instance, it's a massive, massive grind just to get to the end game, just to PvP. So that kind of throws me off that game. You have a game like Black Desert, which could be a great game. If you don't know what Black Desert is, it's an Asian-inspired game. I'm not really sure where they publish it at, but it has great combat. It looks great, but it's ruined by the cash shop, and the game is pay to win, like crazy. And the grind is insane. It's probably worse than classic World of Warcraft. There's tons of RNG. And ESOs fall somewhere in the middle, where if you really just want a PvP, you can get to the end game. If you want a PvE and take your time, you can do that. It allows everybody to have their own style that they want to enjoy the game. If they want to take their time and just adventure their world, they could do that. If they want to be a tank but be stealthy at the same time, you can do that. If you want to be a healer and do damage at the same time, you can do that. So the amount of versatility, the fact that you're never really committing to anything permanently, is part of the big draw for a lot of people for Elder Scrolls Online. As a PvPer, I'd recommend it because, well, it doesn't necessarily have the best combat, it's the most accessible, so you shouldn't have to play a game for 6 months to start PvPing. ESO kind of allows you within a couple weeks, arguably within a couple days, to start PvPing, and that's just something a lot of games don't offer. For a PvEer, it's probably the most rich, just due to the fact that there's so much content to do. Like, you never run out of stuff, and there's so much stuff that you can do. Like, if you want to just be a thief or assassin, you don't want to even play with other people, you can do that. If you want to run the most endgame PvE content, you could do that. If you want to just do smaller dungeons and be a little more casual, you can do that. If you want to roleplay, you can do that. So this game basically has everything for everybody. It's not perfect by any means. In PvP, you have some lag here and there, but that is being worked on. But overall, the game is by far the best MMO I've ever played, and that's the reason I'm making this review, and that's the reason I've been playing the game since 2015. So if you've thought about playing the game, give it a try. As a matter of fact, I think it's free right now. And if nothing else, just keep watching videos, keep watching gameplay, see if there's some content that you think that you would enjoy. I don't even think the game is that too expensive. It's like $10-15, so it's definitely worth playing. There's no subscription anymore. Yeah, just give it a try. I don't think you'd regret it. And if you do like the game and you want more guides, video clips, you could just go on my channel, check that out. I have guides for the game, builds for your character, gameplay, so you can watch my gameplay and see if, mostly from a PvP perspective, if you would enjoy the game. So yeah, that's basically it. Thank you guys for watching. You can check out my Twitch, which is nyloktv, NYLOKTV, where you can see me playing as well. You just find a lot of content on there. And this, as a PvPer, you can really decide if this is the game for you. But like I said, I highly recommend it. You can subscribe as well to just see any content related to the game if you're kind of on the fence, or if you just kind of like this video and you like how I did it, or you've seen my other videos, just feel free to subscribe, like the video if you enjoyed it, and dislike it if you didn't. And I'll see you guys around.